Hello everybody, welcome to another daily dose of gaming news and all that good stuff, and let's get started. Yeah, E3 for this year's is cancelled. It's officially cancelled. They sent emails for all the partners and media because this leak, I start seeing it on IGN, was creeping out saying that probably was cancelled, and then there was official confirmation with official statements and everything. Was kind of bound to happen to a certain degree, mainly because the last 2 years were cancelled also because of the lockdown stuff and all the bug virus, and we basically just starting out the beginning of this year, starting to lift off the like the main things regarding gatherings and everything. And I think they didn't have time to properly manage this, mainly because also companies like the big ones, Sony, Xbox, Microsoft with Xbox, and even Nintendo, they already kind of the last 2-3 years starting doing their thing virtual, which is I already spoken about this. It's an easier way for them to control the information they want to put out. Because even in with presentations, if they do it presentially, so they have people basically going to these conventions and everything, there can be the situation or the possibility of somebody talk to somebody, and then there's maybe some leaks that they don't want to come out at the time. So I think virtually is always better for those companies to control the information they want to put out, so and limits the possibility of leak information. And regarding this thing, at this moment, I think the big one that we have, it's the one that is like 1 or 2 days before the supposedly E3 schedule, which is the Summer's Game Fest, in which now we have an update, because I told you yesterday, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, that Ubisoft was also bailed out of E3, and they are going to do now their presentation in Summer's Game Fest. At the time they said they were doing a presential presentation or something like that in like 2 days before the E3 happening. So now we have the confirmation even through Summer Game Fest, which is from Geoff Keighley, I think the guy's name. It's the same of the Game Awards. We have information that they are now on this thing. So this is the big one that we need to pay attention to in terms of like the big events for this year. And of course they will do the other ones from Microsoft and Nintendo and Sony. They will do their showcase, supposedly virtually. So we will see how it goes. I will try to catch up with everything when it comes out, so we still have a few months until then. Basically this is the news for now regarding this thing, E3 and all these things. But we have seemingly some good news. Supposedly A620 boards should launch tomorrow, which is basically or today or tomorrow or something like that. We already have a new manufacturer board from MSI and some pricing targets revealed. So the pricing target is below $100, which is very good. It's at least some good news in hardware. And I've got here some info, which is not that bad if you think about it, for entry level, and even for if you just want to build a gaming PC, even with good GPUs and everything, and good FPS for 4K and everything, these kind of boards will be more than enough for you to run this thing. You don't need to buy the X670s and 670s, I think, X670s and B650s. I think it's what they yeah, I think that those are the chips. You can, with this kind of chip, you have more than enough PCI lanes. You have a decent amount of USBs. You get some decent amounts also of SATA ports if you use them in storage. The only things that they seem like lacking is 2 DTR slots. But if you think about it, These new CPUs regarding DRAM, the AM5 platform, the RAM stuff. If you fully fill the 4 slots at the moment, I think it overloads the memory controller, and the performance that you get, it's kind of lesser than if you just fill one of the channels of the DDR thing. Which makes a little bit sense. You can cut down like two, at least one channel. You still get one channel for DDR thing, so I think it's more than enough. You have USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports. Of course, there are less quantity of them, or even like the 3.1 Gen 1. The USB naming scheme is it's insane, but yeah. The only thing that you don't get, it's like overclocking and other like those high-end features like PCI Express 5 for the SSDs. So, but for that, I don't think there is utility on that, unless you have a very specific kind of workload. Usually, it's in production suites that really need that kind of like reading speeds for those kind of SSDs, and the SSDs itself are completely insane because they have active cooling. So it's another thing that's happening in those new PCI 5 SSDs. So it's a lot of stuff. I think this is more than enough. I'm very when I want to upgrade my PC, I'm considering just buying one of these instead even of a B650, even though they are very good. The B650, the MSI Pro, I think it's like in the more budget level, but it has good features, and the power delivery is very good. And these A60 chips, even with an X3D, because they cannot be overclocked, and even like the wattage is lower, so it's to a certain degree it's safer per se. And the non-X 7000 CPUs, they are kind of more safe because of the wattage they need to work. Regarding the power delivery of these ports, it's more than good enough for you to build a good decent. So you save money on the motherboard, and you can spend more on the GPU, and you can save a little bit on the non-X CPU, which is good. It's more good enough to play, even for example in 4K, because you don't need the 3D if you play decent frame rates on 4K. So I think it's good news overall regarding the launch of this new hardware. We will see when it comes. Of course, wait for reviews to see if it's really good, if it doesn't have any issues, and at least it's a good news regarding hardware, because again, NVIDIA, we got more informations like from insider sources, even though this is going to be tagged basically as a rumor. Supposedly the 47 Ti will come out at $600. I saw some sites that like this one, it's $200 cheaper. The problem is not being $200 cheaper. It could be a good news being $200 cheaper if for example, the 47 Ti was $650. That will be better news, because this kind of the performance that we are starting to see on this kind of 40 series is a disgrace. They are to a certain extent not less powerful, because they are powerful enough for a lot of things, but they are lesser to a certain degree in the same class than the previous generations in terms of comparison. For example, the 4070 Ti supposedly it's the counterpart for the 3070, and as you can see, basically has the same CUDA cores. They just mentioned CUDA cores, but then you forget that, for example, my main sticking point is memory quantity and memory bus, because the memory bus will basically dictate a lot of the performance that you have in a lot of games. If, for example, if the game is not that well optimized, if you don't have enough bus for the memory to all the information pass through, you will get stuttering, you will get issues like we are seeing, for example, Resident Evil 4, and in some cases, and also in the Last of Us PC port, we are seeing a lot of memory leaks. The memory leaks from the GPU to the system, then gives some conflicts, and then the game crashes. If you want to turn on certain things, for example, in a 4070 Ti, it's the main case because of the limit of the memory itself. It doesn't handle very well, and it's always shut down. The main thing here is, in this day and age, launching just the 4070 in this case, 12 gigabytes, it's not enough. The 70 class should be at least 16, and the 4080 should at least be around almost, I don't know, 24, I think, and the 4090, whatever, I think it's 48 or something like that. And the prices should come down really more, because, or else might as well try to get a second-hand 4070 or something like that, or a new one if it's below MSRP. But if you want to stay in NVIDIA ecosystem, because at this moment in time, even if they are very good, the fact that their software and the drivers, the software itself, it seems dated, and the GPUs itself, how they are not going to age well. I think AMD in that regard is way better. You can see, for example, in what we call the mainstream GPU market, which is 3060, the 60 class in NVIDIA, or in this case 6060 100 XTs, or the 6700 XTs from AMD. They are way better. They are cheaper than the counterparts on NVIDIA. They perform way better. Mainly, and one of the reasons is mainly the fact that they have better and more memory on the VRAM. It's one of the things that will give you an indication of how long the GPU can last in your hands before you need to, or you feel you need to upgrade your GPU. It's one of my sticking points, and as I said, I think it's the NVIDIA just is going full Apple on this one, so they sell you good enough hardware to run their software, and the main sticking point, it's the technology. See, it's the DLSS shit, it's the frame rates, it's all of this kind of crap that if you don't have access to the hardware itself, it's not that good. And the fact that they are overcharging for that, it's insane how they're marketing this. And AMD, because it's a follower at the moment, I think they should have been more aggressive when they launched the 7000 series or their GPUs. I think at least cutting out at least $100 at MSRP, at least on the XTX, and the XT should have been like $200 less than the MSRP they launched, to be way competitive, because they are very good at rasterizing. You don't need to play. I think ray tracing is almost kind of a gimmick at this point, because we can the amount of processing power that it demands for you to get to notice the RTX, because you can see and you notice differences in RTX in screenshots, in slow moving clips, because if you're playing a shooter, if you can have all the RTX in the world, you will not notice that RTX in the world. Your focus is on the enemy to shoot. Even in for example, racing games, the RTX doesn't serve basically any purpose, because you're racing, you're just seeing things blurry because you're racing 200 miles an hour, whatever it is. The only justification is, like, for example, static or more static backgrounds. For example, in a turn-based game, when you can see some you can notice some stuff, because we have already technology for shadowing, and for example, it's better to have a more anti-aliased game that it has its purposes regarding rasterization. I think rasterization can be more fine-tuned, and then we have some certain effects that you can improve. But I think ray tracing itself, it's a nice technology to have. So the illumination it's better. But if you stop and think about it a little bit, I think ray tracing in gaming has at least the main in the main type of games that we play, which are usually more quicker on how we perceive things, like turning around, racing games, shooters, even more slower games, you will not kind of notice that much unless you are looking for the differences. It's the main thing regarding this kind of thing, and I always be ranting about this kind of thing. As long as the prices are high, at these price points, I recommend AMD. And if you don't have enough, if you think and they are expensive, more expensive, the AMD stuff, you just buy the previous generation. If you're playing, like, for example, 1080p, a 6600 XT is more good enough for you to play it in the decent frame rates. The ones that are good, even the 450, it's like 6 gigabytes of RAM of VRAM, and the memory bus is 96 bits or something like that. This will not even be enough to play you with 1080p and a decent quality settings. It's going to struggle, but then they're going to say, no, but we have our technology, the DLSS will improve your frame rates and everything, and then they just cheating you on telling you that they have the technology to uplift the performance regarding the previous family of GPUs. Yeah, that's why at the moment, if you want to buy a new, you have to put your money where as a voting power as a consumer. If you think NVIDIA is not doing good, you just buy from you choose a good competitor, in this case GPU, and you vote it with your wallet. And when NVIDIA start to see that AMD, they have kind of relatively cheaper GPUs, their software is very good, they have an all-in-one software and driver solution. It's very good even for tweaking, for recording, for everything. It's very, and the drivers are more than good enough. Since the RDNA launch from the GPUs, the software is more than good enough. Of course, as any product, you can be, depending on the configuration, you might have some issues here and there. It's normal. Even on GeForce it happens. But yeah, you just need to vote with your wallet, and at this moment, I think even previous generation AMD, for the prices that they have now, it's more good enough to give you an excellent performance for your gaming needs, and even for applications that you need for production. The only thing that I have to say about NVIDIA, their technology, when they put it in good work, it can improve a lot of stuff. And in this case, AI, for basically accelerating chip designs, at least it's what they are saying, accelerating by 30 times over. I didn't kind of know this, but the chip designs is basically made by hand, manually. So there is no software that you start trying to troubleshoot the design of the chips and everything. No, everything is made manually, so it's a very laborious process. And basically it's usually always the new tech, the new kind of designs that we see. It's usually always based in something that they know it worked previously. That's why we see, and to a certain extent, that's why the Moore law exists, because if you're building based on things that you already know and try to fine tune and find some ways to tweak the the things they already know. There is going to be, to a certain extent, a prediction of how good you can scale up the performance of the chip design itself. And this kind of software, basically, it tries to solve the issue of seeing if it works and using a different methodology, which is basically AI learning, and see how it can solve the situation of the design of new designs, if they are can be implemented, and if they can be implemented, if they are more efficient and more powerful than the previous version of that design. It's the only thing. It's one of the few things that it's good to have. Okay, and AI, this is not basically an AI per se. It's basically more machine learning. They have a set of instructions and a database that they work on, so it's not proper AI. And regarding now gamings, we have Ravenbound. It came out. I've been seeing a lot of the reviews. I saw some reviews, and my main sore sticking point that I saw, it's you need like an online always connection to play this game. This is a single player game. There is no need to have. It's one of my main contentions is for single player games. You don't need a freaking online, always online connection to play the freaking game. You play the game. You just put your key in it, and okay, when you start the game, you can the game can ping the server to see if everything is okay, and then you just play it. You can play it basically offline. I don't see the reason for this to happen. That's why I don't like, just by the fact of it, I don't like this game already. But still, it has a lot of promise. It's a little bit rough around the edges. The mechanics are very solid. It has good foundation. I think a little bit polishing, and in terms of the mechanics and even some parts of the graphic movement, some moving sets and attack sets. I think one of the things they were kind of complaining, you cannot kind of see in terms of the movement set of the enemies when they are trying to attack you or something like that. But there are some quibbits here and there, but overall it has a good foundation, and I think if they continue to improve the game, it will be very good. The only thing that I really advise is just buy the game when you don't require an online connection to play this single player game. I think it's a non-starter for me. There is no need. You just, if you pay the game, you can access it, especially if it doesn't have any online feature, which is the case on this one. It's a single player roguelike style game, so I don't see a need to have always online connection, because if you for anything that happened, if your online connection goes down for any reason at all, the game just won't get played, and I think it even shuts down the game if you don't have the online connection, if you already started playing the game, which is, and I think there is some optimization things that can be done here. I think there is like 1 or 2 stutters that happen here and there, but not game breaking. But if you are interested in play the game, I will leave the link of the Steam page here. $30 still. For me, it's a non-deal when they. That's why you see a lot of mixed. It was mostly negative yesterday. Now it's more mixed. But yeah, it's here. I will leave the link on the description. And the other gaming deals we have, it's Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is the free games with all the DLCs and everything. $18, give or take. It's good to at least check the game. The story, it's kind of very good if you don't overanalyze it. But yeah, the finale, it's a little bit meh, but okay. But we have an excellent game here, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, now only $4.50. This is the standard edition. I think the digital deluxe edition, it's just a little bit better with the extra content and everything, just $6, and it's a very good game. And Prey, the digital deluxe edition, all of these two are on GOG, but $10 the digital deluxe edition, which is with everything. The DLC, I think the DLC on this game is pretty good. plus the extra content. I think it's worth it. This one I like it very much. The Prey. It's very underrated, this game. And basically this is it, guys. Sometimes I get lost on my rambles, but yeah, I will leave it with my Go Get Funding campaign for me to upgrade my PC to get better, more content from my private clients, and of course in my free spare time, continue to do these daily videos with better quality and doing some deep dives with some scripted content, and also resuming my gameplay series, and in the future some live streams and all that good stuff. And as I said, guys, I hope you had a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, Kunamy Master out.